And I heard from someone this week because when I did the trigonometry interview, I guess I'd mentioned that I went to a science and math high school. And I actually went to the South Carolina Governor School of Science and Math. It's a residential school for 11th and 12th grade. But someone reached out to me from the North Carolina School for Science and Math. They thought that's might have been where I went. And we were talking about it online. And she's much younger than me. She graduated recently from there. And she said it's thoroughly, entirely woke.
Of course
And
it is.
I don't doubt that my old school is that way now too. I just from some of the stuff I've seen in the alumni board decisions they've made for online stuff. And during the Black Lives Matter, the SJW revolution in June, statements they wanted to make. I'm like, I can't be sure that school is still offering the same level of education that it offered when I was there. I doubt it is, because once wokeness moves in, wokeness becomes a priority.
Well, and it can't be. Look, as soon as they focus on any kind of race-based outcome, by definition, they can't be the meritocracy that they were before. They've changed the standards. Like, it's you don't even have to wonder if the effect has happened. It has.
Yeah.
It has. It has to. Yeah. I mean, look, where I stand on this.
South Carolina has one of the lowest. It's one of the lowest rated states in terms of public education.
Oh, really? Worse than California? I thought we were pretty bad.
At least 20 something years ago when I went, we were. I mean, we were like number 50 at one time. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Pretty bad.
Congrats.
So we used to joke that South Carolina was the state most likely to secede, not succeed.
Maybe they'll just be a spelling error and they'll mistakenly secede.
Right. But, for people who are in a state, that's the reason the governor's school came to be, was they were trying to provide a place for gifted and talented students to get a really challenging education. It was challenging, and it did change my life. And to think that is now polluted or watered down, or that, or even maybe, culturally, if we're moving to this place of getting rid of gifted and talented programs, I mean, what's the future for a school like that? Soaking up resources for all those.
Yeah. I do think it's worth mentioning for those who, I know someone in chat just said solutions. Look, where I stand on this stuff. Public school needs to be eliminated. Schools should be businesses that offer more value to you than they cost you. Like, that's how businesses work. You buy an iPhone because it's worth more than the money that you pay for it. And if you didn't think that, you wouldn't buy an iPhone. And there's no reason a school needs to have gifted programs if that school isn't serving people who are looking for gifted programs. There's no reason a school has to have special needs programs unless it's a school serving people with special needs. There can be schools for various things. There can be schools for kids that are gifted. There's no... The idea that education, I know people think like, oh, education's very necessary, so we have to figure out a way for the government to do it. The fact that the government does it destroys the purpose of the education itself. You can't have the government educate. This is how you get this is how you get a bunch of vote zombies willing to go along with whatever the hell the government's doing. I mean, you subsidize it. If you care about an industry, you keep the government out of it. If you want the best to happen in an industry, you keep the government out of it. Governments getting involved in industries upset the market. The federal government did not always provide, or state governments did not always provide education. And you can just look at universities to see the government grants and government-backed loans and frankly, government mandates have increased the cost of universities like ridiculously. When my dad went to college, he could work at a fruit stand in the summer and make all the money he needed to live and pay tuition for the rest of the year. That's unheard of now. And he didn't go to a bad school. So, the idea that the government needs to be involved and we have to come up with some solution, you need to let go of that idea. People who are trying to fix this, let go. Let the private sector take over. Let the private sector take over.
This is an example of something that you've helped to move my opinion on in the past couple of years, because I used to think of schooling, of course.
It's hard to get over that because people are used to it being a thing.
I just thought of it as, of course, the government is in charge of education, and it has taken a long time to even shift to where I'm at right now. I don't completely agree with you, but I'm more than 90% do, I think, now.
Well, here's a way you can get there. This is why I can just make an argument directionally. Just start moving it to more local. Get the federal government out of it. Once they're out of it, then get the state government out of it. Once they're out of it, get local governments. Work your way down, and you will find that every time you eliminate one of those actors, things get better. Things get better. You don't, and this idea that everyone, what are they learning in college or in school right now? The idea that, we are releasing, here's my argument for how public education has failed. We are releasing 18-year-olds into the workforce that aren't worth minimum wage. We are arguing that we have to increase minimum wage because after 12 years of government schooling, they're not worth current minimum wage. They can't get jobs. And the argument is we have to increase minimum wage. The problem is not minimum wage. The problem is that we can't produce people that are worth minimum wage. Their time isn't worth it. That's pathetic. Look 100 years ago. You've said this before. Look at the people who dropped out of school in 6th grade or 8th grade and fought in the Civil War, and they wrote, letters back to their loved ones. Look at their language. Look at their ability to write. I mean,
they had a command on vocabulary that we do not have today.
It's ridiculous. I think St. Thomas mentioned the other day, and maybe it was yesterday, Frederick Douglass, right? The guy was raised as a slave. He was beaten, and yet his command of the English, go read some of his speeches. His command of the English language is breathtaking. He's a master of the English language. This didn't happen through going through public school. Public school, we have people, they can't pick out where America is on the globe. Our public school system is, I don't know any other word than complete joke or complete failure. There's no way around it. So the idea that we need to funnel more money into it is absolutely stupid. And the only reason anyone thinks that is because they went to public school.
But there are some very good teachers in public schools who are trying to, plug the hole in the ship, so to speak.
Of course there's some, but I think the number of very good teachers in public schools is very small.
I had some.
That was, I won't say how many years ago.
Because I'm a lady.
Yeah, because you're a lady. I'm not going to say how many years ago that might have been. But all right, so wait, do you want to read more of these things? Sorry, we got...
Yeah, I do. Okay, I just got
okay.
The AP thing, getting rid of AP classes just really burns my biscuits.
Yep. All right. The next thing after burning Carrie's biscuits, required courses on Black liberation. Okay. Is that Black liberation theology? Is Black liberation like something more than freedom? Is it
ask them what
separatism?
Black people need to be liberated from, and they don't have an answer.
Yeah, sure they don't. I'm just wondering if you know what they mean by that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it comes from Black liberation theory. It's like critical race theory. They may as well put critical race theory there.
Okay. Reduce tuition for Black students whose photographs appear in school promotional materials. So they wanted to tax your virtue signaling now. Hey, you need to virtue signal. Oh, you're going to virtue signal with these kids? They need to be paid.
And again, look at that. It's race-based. What about the white students who appear in your promotional materials?
Right.
What if it's a poor white student? What if it's
they
a
should
poor
charge
Asian
the Asians just for going to school?
Yeah, I mean, this is so racist. And again, like you said, what about if you're mixed? How do they determine if you're black? Or what if you're a quarter black? What do you know, these are all racist policies. And they don't lead anywhere good.
Right. All right. So we said that. Public anti-racism statements required. Oh, so this is interesting. Public anti-racism statements required from all employees. This is your oath. This is your oath to the Borg. You need to show that you are a card-carrying member of the whatever party this is, the anti-racist Marxist party, by any other name, right? So, yeah, okay, that's great. But this is clearly an ideological requirement, right?
It's like an ode to communism.
Yeah, absolutely, it's what it is. Mandatory community and diversity days to be held throughout the year. Yes, because that will help people do better. Required anti-bias training to be conducted every year for all staff and parent volunteers.
So indoctrination, more indoctrination.
Mandatory minority representation in otherwise elective student leadership roles. Wow. So you can have some democracy, but not if you vote for the wrong people. If your democracy outcome doesn't give us the representation that we want, we'll just appoint people. Mandatory diversity plot lines in school plays.
Before you move on, mandatory minority representation in otherwise elective student leadership roles. So how would they even do that? Is it like, okay, we're going to elect a student body president and vice president, et cetera, and oh, look, there weren't enough black people elected, so we're going to overthrow whoever was elected and appoint someone? Is that the way that works?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Mandatory diversity plot lines in school plays. This is just indoctrination needs to be nice and thorough. Overhaul of entire curriculum to reflect diversity narratives. So again, what I like about this, Carrie, I do like their honesty. They don't want the curriculum to reflect facts. They want it to reflect the story that they're trying to push out, which is called the diversity narrative. Now, just so you're
clear, this is somebody else's summary of what's in there. The list itself is very long. We could read through, but this is a summary of someone who's criticizing it. So narratives may be their choice of word.
Maybe there. Okay, fair enough.